are brown, leaves are brown, and the sky is gray, and the sky is gray.
If you're a fan of the Mamas and the Papas, you probably know that Michelle's flings, hookups, and sexual betrayal was part of the reasons for the band's early disbandment. However, what you may not be aware of is how sexually crazy Michelle Phillips actually was and the other crazy escapades she was involved in during her prime. But as you watch this video to the end, you will start to connect the dots and get a glimpse of her crazy sex life. John Phillips believed that his wife was the type of woman who had her own fun sleeping around with as many men as she could find, and Michelle didn't deny it. They shared a very complicated relationship, and if truth be told, you can't really blame the singer for her wild sexual adventures. To her, there was always a perfect excuse for every one of them. But Michelle Phillips was not always like this. It all started after Mamas and Papas was formed. Phillips spent her early years in Los Angeles and Mexico City with her father. Her mother had died of brain hemorrhage when she was just 5, and growing up without a mother came with its own consequences. Anyway, as a teenager, Michelle practiced rebellion by skipping classes and forging absence. But all of it led her to her first love, John Phillips, and she didn't even care about the age difference or the fact that he was married at the time of their romance. John divorced his wife and married 18-year-old Michelle Phillips, and that was when they learned that love was not enough. Young Phillips became stepmother to 2 of John's children from his previous relationships, and the story kept getting interesting. 3 years after their wedding, the couple formed the Mamas and the Papas with Cass Elliot and Canadian Denny Doherty. This musical group was special for so many reasons, but chief among them would be that they brought something that the industry never knew they needed: that unique blend of folk, pop, and psychedelic rock. At their prime, the Mamas and Papas were irresistible, and we remember them for hits like California Dreaming and Monday Monday, which all became anthems of the decades. But even as they prospered musically, a lot of forbidden activities were happening behind the scenes and in John Phillips's marriage. One of the most popular was his wife's affair with co-bandmate Denny Doherty. It just didn't make sense to John that his wife could go as far as sharing a bed with someone who was that close to him. Trying to defend herself, Michelle explained that there was just a lot of sexual tension between her and Denny. She did try to kill it, but it kept growing until it was only a matter of time before she succumbed. Her husband never caught them in the act, but he suspected. Michelle later confessed, and that was the beginning of the end for the band. Things got even more complicated when she was confronted by Cass Elliot, who was also in love with Denny. John was finally able to forgive his wife for sleeping with his tenor, but the next thing that drove him crazy was when Michelle was caught in another affair with Gene Clark from the Byrds. He threw her out of the band, replacing her with the record producer's girlfriend. After a lot of back and forths, John and Michelle agreed not to let their personal differences come between their careers, and so he invited his wife back into the band. But the end was near. Not long after the birth of their daughter Chinna in 1968, John divorced his wife, and the Mamas and Papas disbanded. While Michelle might seem like the villain of this story, her ex-husband was even worse. His sins were not just as popular. We could tolerate John Phillips keeping multiple affairs as a married man, but what shook the industry was when he was accused of having an incestuous relationship with his daughter. She revealed this in her 2011 autobiography, High on Arrival, a memoir. Michelle, after the divorce, started life from scratch with Chinna. She joined the acting industry and had a relatively successful career. Some of her most proudest work in the film industry include Valentino, Dillinger, and The California Kid. Life came for John Phillips after he divorced his wife, and he kept struggling with addictions until his death in 2001, and that was the only reason all of his secret sins were exposed. Michelle Phillips blames her urges for the untimely disbandment of Mamas and Papas, but if there's anything good that came out of that, it would be that she left John. Mercifully, John is dead, so he cannot stand in the way of me doing it, and neither can Denny. Once you have taken a knife out of your heart, it makes for a wonderful story, Michelle Phillips said, as she revealed more dark secrets about her life, career, and romances. Michelle Phillips had such an appetite that kept a man around for as long as she wanted, but after that, he became just another unworthy addition to her romance list. She did it to John, and now she was going to do it to Dennis Hopper. But with Hopper, the singer was going to bite off way more than she could chew. Hopper had a crazy reputation in the industry at the peak of his fame as a director and actor. he was known for very strange indulgements like shooting up a tree while high on LSD and snorting a dead woman's ashes. But somehow, Phillips's urges marked the actor and she wouldn't stop until he was her prey. 1 year after her separation from John, Phillips starred in the film titled The Last Movie, and it was on the set of this project that she met Dennis. According to Michelle, she felt such intense attraction for the director, which she described as the Florence Nightingale instinct. "I was so overloaded emotionally by this point in my life, I didn't know what I was doing," Phillips gushed in regrets many years after her marriage to Hopper. The couple tied the knot in 1970, and it was the beginning of trouble for Michelle. This union lasted just 8 days, but the actress described this short time as most excruciating. Her father had to drag her to his attorney's office to file for a divorce. According to her, he said, "Men like this never change. File for a divorce now. It will be embarrassing after a few weeks." On Hopper's side of the story, he had the time of his life. He revealed that he enjoyed his time with Michelle, and the only bad day in all 8 days was the day she filed for the divorce. So much happened in these 8 days, but the most popular highlight was Hopper scaring Michelle and her daughter, Chinna, by shooting guns in the house. He also tried to restrain Phillips by handcuffing her, insisting that she was a witch. That same week, the Daily Mail reported that Hopper was so stoned the morning after his wedding that he didn't recognize his wife. Phillips demanded separation from Dennis Hopper on the grounds of unnatural sexual demands, and nobody understood what exactly she meant. But after a deeper probe, we realized that it was not as unrealistic as we had thought. During the final weeks of production of The Last Movie, Dennis Hopper was accused of starting a cult where he encouraged everyone to consume drugs in illegal quantities and engage in orgies. Interestingly, he wouldn't even deny it, he said. "It was one long sex and drug orgy. We might have been drug addicts, but we were drug addicts with a work ethic. The drugs, the drink, the insane sex, they all fueled our creativity." It was another lucky escape for the adventurous Michelle Phillips, but she still couldn't stop exploring. Life after Dennis Hopper was undoubtedly very difficult for Phillips, but she got around the only way she knew how to: dating more men. The next man on Michelle's list was Jack Nicholson. Now, the singer was becoming wiser with her private life, and she learned that to control the damage meant that she had to not reveal as much. So, Phillips started keeping her personal stories from making headlines, and you can say that it paid off with Jack Nicholson. The two shared a romantic connection sometime in the early 70s, and it was even rumored that they got married for 12 days. But neither Michelle nor Jack confirmed this, so it's not very easy to say for sure. The truth remains that whatever they shared didn't last as much as they wanted it to, and after they separated, they never spoke to each other again. In all of her many romances, Phillips has described one breakup which she is least ashamed of, and that was with actor Warren Beatty. According to her, Warren was the ultimate love of her life, but he lost her because he did not know how to treat women. The next thing that was wrong about this relationship was that Warren was married at the time when Michelle wanted him. She later described his behavior as passive-aggressive, and that was how she knew that things would never work out. "I was madly in love with him," she told Vanity Fair. "I love his wife too, and I pray for her every day. She can manage the guy and I never could. He drove me nuts." Michelle Phillips, now 79 years old, is not as energetic and passionate as she was for love games. She is just an old lady haunted by the mistakes of her youth. The singer never truly got the love she so desired and pursued. This might just be her biggest regret. Phillips never stopped trying to get mamas and papas back together, but some things just can't be put back into place after they have been destroyed. This was one of those things. Today, Michelle Phillips is the only surviving bandmate from the Mamas and Papas, and although she doesn't have the best of stories, you just can't deny how gifted and lovable she was. If you enjoyed this video, there's a good chance you'll also enjoy the one showing on your screen right now. Click, enjoy, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. See you on the next one.